people
Absolutely.
believe that you care about enchanted night candles.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this candle, though, smells amazing. Welcome to Behind the Slate, where I sit down with fellow voice actors and other industry artists to have a fireside chat. I'm your host, Christian O'Boyle. If you'd like to know more about me, please check out my website at christianoboyle.com. In this episode, I'll be talking with Glen Bulthius, a full-time voiceover talent based out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. After an eclectic career journey that took him through jobs such as car washing, a law firm, ambulance company, and almost the military, he feels he's finally settled into rhythm with VO and has been building his business for just about a year. The bulk of his work is for commercials and audiobook narration, but he also does a variety of character work for video games and YouTube series, voicing characters in a number of mods for Skyrim and Fallout 4. Oh yeah. How's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. Things are great.
Good. How is the
Having chill.
the challenge, the 90-day challenge going for you?
It's going. I haven't been doing my DMA as religiously as I'd gone off initially, and some of them like they just haven't been as relevant as I've moved on and thought more about what I want this business to be. And it's like, well, I had this idea like I could do this every day, but like it's not quite as relevant as doing some of these other things.
Right.
Blah blah blah. So.
Right. I found more success in some of the things where I was like, sure, this is on my DMA, but it wasn't like, and my DMAs were broken down a little bit differently. And then as I started doing it, I was like, well, I'm finding more success here. So I kind of rolled with that.
Right.
And then I kind of stopped. So it's kind of finding the balance. And then obviously you go, I'm going to do all this stuff. And you're like, is it worth doing all this stuff?
Right. I remember day one, you said that you wanted to apply for like 5 roster sites every single day. And I was like, shit, bro.
Yeah,
I did at the end of 90 days.
It
started to you, my man.
It started good. I've still continued, but I found that the necessity of submitting to, say, rosters and stuff like that wasn't as relevant.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's not relevant, but it was just kind of this thing where rosters can get you work, but they're not guaranteed.
Right. Some of them are huge. Some of them, you're up there with like thousands of other voices. It's like,
they're huge, or some of them are such big, they'll actually get you a lot of work. But I found more success when I was actually, because initially I was like, I'm gonna do explainer videos and commercials because that's where the money is, and that's where
that's the lion's share of the work. Yeah,
that's where I would like to be eventually.
Right.
But I never really marketed towards video games or animations like that, just because I was like, yeah, I can do that with CCC and all this stuff. And sure, I can make some money off of that, but you're not going to make a lot of money. I found so much success contacting these game studios and devs and stuff like that, and then offering the casting services with Immerse Productions to where we were getting so much attention. We did one casting with Immerse Productions and wrapping up the demo. I've already got on with about 2 other games with the Facebook marketing and have a couple other on the table where we're going to be negotiating whether casting or just voicing in it. And it just it was like, oh wow, this is working out way better, and I can set my rates because they're not setting their own rates. They're going, all right, how much would it cost? I'm like,
right
40 cents a word or $4 a line or something.
Right. Yeah. So actually, I've seen you. I'm on the there's the indie game developers Facebook group, and I've actually seen you on there as well. I joined it a couple months back. I haven't done much with it, but just as an opportunity to kind of keep my thumb, keep my finger on the pulse of indie game culture out there.
And the thing is, it's jumping on and contacting them directly. That has been the success. When they post on, sure, you can go, hey, I really like this stuff or whatnot. But a lot of times it's reaching out and saying, hey, this is awesome.
Slide into the DMs.
And just you're not marketing. You're not going, I want to work with you. You're just going, I like your stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Or what inspired you to do it. Or when is it going to be out? Just be interested, be connected, and stuff like that. And eventually it might develop into something where you can possibly voice in it.
Yeah, there you
If
go,
they're
man.
looking for that.
Making those contacts. Like I get that sometimes on Twitter and stuff. Like people message me and like ask me, "Hey, I love your voice stuff you do, and I love that video you share." I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks, dude. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and contacting me directly about that." So being on the receiving end of that, I totally get that.
Oh, for sure. And I think generally making connections and generally being interested in people, especially helps with the marketing of side of the business. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that voiceover is a business and they don't have that mindset.
Right,
And
right.
I feel that if you're going to be successful and you've taken off, you're about a year
But
and you're
yeah,
ready
yeah. Funny thing,
full
actually,
time
tomorrow,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
actually tomorrow will be the 1 year anniversary of my last day of work at the law firm before I just quit cold turkey and started doing this full time.
That is
Been a
fantastic.
whole
See,
freaking year.
having a family, a wife and a daughter,
Yeah,
there is
I
no
hear that.
way I have that
Right.
ability. But
That's
just
one of the
kind of
reasons. Yeah, that's one of the
yeah.
reasons why I did it. Because I don't have a wife, I don't have kids, I don't have a girlfriend. I had I had some pretty decent savings. I got a pretty decent severance package. My rent's stupid cheap. I got some great housemates. So I'm like, if this is ever going to happen, now is the most optimal time.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the way to run with it, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are like, "I'm gonna do voiceover full time." I
Uh,
support that.
right.
However, depending on where you live, the cost of living in your
Exactly.
area,
Right. Right.
because people are like, "Well, I'm gonna live in LA and be full time."
No.
Good luck.
Oof. Yeah.
Even people who live in LA
Hmm.
usually have to have some sort of side job for the
Right.
most part.
Right.
Or I'm gonna be full time. Well, if you're in, say, Montana and you
A
wanna be full
flyover state or
time, there is
something.
a
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
chance that you can, or
Hmm.
say somewhere in the South, like Texas,
Right.
and stuff like that. There's a higher, greater opportunity because
Yeah.
cost of living is much cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the
Um,
nice things about, getting so much work over the internet these days is that we're not so locked into, geographical locations nearly as much as we used to. So it really
yeah,
behooves you to try and find a place where you can live that has a low cost of living, where you still have good, decent internet. And I mean, that's really from starting
yeah,
from up, that's a great way to start.
yeah, and I think that's again another thing that people need to take into consideration if you're going to be full time.
Yeah.
Maybe where you live is ideal
Uh-huh.
because the rent is $700 a month,
Hmm.
$800 a month.
Right,
Um,
right.
Rent in my area cheap is about $1,200 a month
Hmm.
or more. And
Right.
that's the cheap end.
Hmm.
And I'm not even in Seattle. You go into Seattle and obviously you're paying
Right.
two to three
Right. In a
thousand dollars.
major city, yeah.
You go to LA, I looked up San Francisco and I
Yeah.
found a one bedroom, 700 square foot place for 3 grand a month and
Uh,
another one for 7 grand a month. And I was
oh,
like,
jeez.
oh,
No
how?
thanks.
How is
Yeah,
that possible? No way.
yeah. Yeah.
So one of the questions is you went from
Hmm.
job after job after job
I
in
did,
so
yeah.
many different fields. How did you fall into the voice acting realm?
Oh man. So I mean, it's been like I said, it's been an eclectic journey to get here. I mean, I was one of those kids when I was young. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I mean, I had friends like I've got my cousin. His dad was a cop. He was always into that scene. He grew up to be a cop. I had another friend. He loved planes since he was a kid. Right now, he became a pilot. And I was a guy who like just had a bunch of different things that I was kind of interested in. Like I wasn't super great at any one thing, but I was pretty good at a lot of things. And I had both creative sort of inclinations, like I'm musical, I'm imaginative, but then I'm also a guy, who can be organized, who can keep his room clean, who can do the logistical kind of stuff. And voiceover in particular, like that's something that had just kind of been in the back of my mind since really since forever. Like since I was a little kid, I was, watching movies, mimicking character voices and whatnot, or mimicking different regional accents and stuff. And I come from a bit of a performance background. Like my dad's a musician, my mother's also a musician. My sister, she actually went to school for theater, so that's
Wow.
something certainly hereditary about that. And my sister was actually the one who was always like, "Glenn, you're so good at this. You should actually like try and get in studio sometime or try and get on some projects." And that was just always something that was in the back of my head. But I think maybe because I didn't understand the industry and I didn't know about how the market actually worked to the point where I was, ready to go out, build my own business based off of it. And I'd watched, there's a great documentary on Netflix. I Know That Voice. You've probably seen it.
I've
Called the,
heard of it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I
Okay.
haven't actually looked it up
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's put together by like, John DiMaggio, the guy who, tons of characters, Ben Bender and Futurama, Marcus
Right.
Phoenix and Gears of War and stuff. And it's him and a bunch of his friends, talking about, being on these major productions and growing up. And, a lot of them live off on the coast. They live in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they talk about it for their model, doing all these major productions through agencies and stuff, you really have to move out and live on the coast. Like you have to be, we were talking how, with technology being ubiquitous, it's a lot easier to get voiceover work regardless of where you are. But if you still want to get into the big work, like the major, agency work for AAA games, cartoons, film, etc., you pretty much still have to live on the coast. And like that's what I thought the market was. Like, oh well, shoot. I don't really want to pack up and move to Los Angeles. And like I said, I got family there. I'm not a huge fan of the town. It's a little busy for me anyway, and it's more expensive to live there. And so I had a bunch of other things that career-wise that I was looking at. Like, I was interested in the legal field. So I worked at a law firm for 3.5 years, and I'd studied to become a paralegal. And it had also been my dream for the longest time. I had wanted, since I was like 18, I wanted to be like on a special operations unit. Like I wanted to go in, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret. And I'd put some like real training and look into that. Like I'd like taken up martial arts. I'd done a couple of like these crazy endurance events that you see like there's Tough Mudder, and then there's the greatest degradations beyond that.
Yeah.
And
like
when
the
I was
SEALs.
yeah, the SEALs, and they have all these other crazy endurance obstacle course races out now for people who are of that sort of ilk.
Right.
And that was something that I've been exploring there. And then when I was 28, just about a year and a half ago now, I had an honest conversation with myself that wasn't really where I saw myself with the makeup to go through that. I didn't think I had the real mindset to make that happen, to deal with those stresses, to work in that kind of an environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then because it was a big dream, like finally turning that off, I really had, it was really crushing because I built up so much of my sense of self based on, this is who I'm going to be. This is how I picture myself and whatnot. And then finally being honest with myself and closing that door, I was really sort of taken aback and like, okay, I feel kind of lost in the sauce now. I feel kind of lost in the world. And that was where, because I no longer had this like specific goal that I was working toward, gave me the opportunity, delve into other things. So I started looking back into voiceover, and I found a casting call club soon after that. I found it actually because I'm big into like the Skyrim modding scene, and actually one of the mods I was checking out actually had a link to casting call club. And it's like, hey, this mod is still in development. If you want to be a voiceover for this thing, you want to be characters, come check out this place. And that led to casting call, and that's how I found that and started, just getting a couple little gigs on the side while I was still working my law firm job.
Sure.
And then, a number of things sort of fell into place. Things were getting better with voiceover. I'd done some more research about that and learned that, this is really something I could do. Like you can record from home. You can find work in a million different places. You don't have to move, to some high cost of living place on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And things weren't going as well in the law firm. And then, just God opened the path, and the rest is history. And here I am.
That is fantastic. You're like, I'm doing mods now. I'm going
doing
full
mods
time.
now. Yeah, baby. Ooh.
Oh, that's awesome though. That you
thanks.
just the opportunity, kind of the doors opened and closed in the right areas.
Right.
And it led you into this.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I got into this when I did. I'm glad that it wasn't like, I know some friends who, they're early 20s coming out of college, they went to theater, and like they knew since they were a kid, they wanted to do voiceover. I so much appreciate the fact that I actually had the opportunity to try a bunch of different career fields, to learn what it's like to work in corporate America, to work in customer service. Being able to have that background leading into this has just helped me be so much more prepared. It's given me peace of mind knowing that, okay, I've actually tried a couple other things, so I don't have to wonder what if I had gone or tried, a number of these things. I've sort of said like, okay, this makes sense now. And also just learning more about the business and the work aspect of it. Like it is a job. And when I was working at a law firm, you get used to, keeping track of projects, using spreadsheets, making phone calls, and answering to, superiors and whatnot. And just having that work ethic and those habits have really helped me project this thing and build it into what it is now.
Also, it gives you a better sense of what to expect. Because a lot of people don't understand, well, I'm just going to go straight into art, or I'm going to go straight into voiceover.
Right.
Power to you if you can. But at the same time, without having the other experience of working for someone else or anything, you don't know, one, how good you have it, being able to be self-employed, which sometimes is good, but sometimes having that knowledge of customer service, like you said, sending out emails, support, or
interpersonal
anything like
skills.
That, it helps develop the other aspects of running a business, sending out emails or being professional and stuff like that. It definitely, customer service is so huge.
It is.
I've had so
Sales,
many people
marketing,
return back to me as return clients because of how responsive I am. And that's just generally how I am. My work ethic is to be responsive and quick and stuff like that. And people appreciate that. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm working with this VA and they haven't replied to me in 3 days. And it's like, why? Why haven't they replied to you?
Do they not want the job? What's going on?
Are they gone? There shouldn't be a reason why someone can't send a quick email saying, yeah, got it, or yes, thank you. Anything like that. Even one quick 2-sentence thing. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you.
Yeah.
Close.
Or even like, hey, I read this, busy right now. I'll follow up with you in a few days or whatever when I get around to it. Yeah.
Hey, I will get back to you. I'm in the middle of something.
Seat confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is definitely something that I think a lot of people need to have, that mindset, is just to be as professional as possible and just treat your clients, your leads, your prospects the exact way you want them to treat you. You will build a better relationship and in the end succeed in the future.
Sure.
So yeah, that is definitely, I think, something that kind of helps formulate. Now I know that sometimes doing voiceover is daunting. You lock yourself in a booth. And again, finding the work, auditioning, marketing, all this stuff can kind of eventually chip away at you. What is something that maybe keeps you motivated and going?
I like variety. I mean, for me, I found so many different opportunities for voiceover in different places. So I enjoy that. Like I've done a lot of audiobooks on ACX, which is an entirely different environment than doing like Casting Call Club. I've had a number of people I've reached out to personally, like folks who like I contact on Facebook, or not even that I contact initially, but like, I'll share, like I do a weekly vlog series on my own YouTube channel where I just talk about, this is the day in the life of me doing voiceover stuff, and they'll see that or some of the other project stuff that I share, and they'll reach out to me, be like, oh, hey, I have a need for a voiceover and whatnot. So get different context there. So I've always loved, I mean, like I said before, I was never a guy who felt like there was one particular thing I always wanted to do. I always like variety, and I like having different avenues to always kind of explore and look into. So I try to keep my day full of, a variety of different activities. So, I've still got my daily motivating exercises where, I'll send out my emails during a given day, or I'll check certain websites for auditions and stuff. But I also like to, I like to do a lot of training. I've taken a lot of online courses, both on the acting side of things, as well as, more on the business management side of things, or marketing. Like I've taken a class on Twitter marketing, taken a class on YouTube marketing, how to optimize some of the freelance sites out there, how to advertise yourself well there. So just keeping good variety. And I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time in the booth all day. I mean, a lot of my time is, just at my computer, at my desk, listening to music, sending out emails, or doing research, or doing other things and whatnot. So
I think a lot of people misunderstand that voiceover is not voiceover. I mean, yes, obviously, but that's 20%, 30% of actually what you're doing. Marketing, branding, connecting, networking, even doing taxes and files and all that stuff.
Got a massive spreadsheet to keep track of all my expenses, and
there's so much that actually goes into sending invoices and actually booking stuff for later. Being in the booth is 20 to 30% of actually what you're doing. I step into the booth maybe once or twice a week.
Wow.
And unfortunately,
it's even less than me, and I don't think I do it a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, that's because, one, family and a bunch of other gigs and
other
side
stuff going on
that I've got going. But at the same time, unless I have an audition that is due, I'll just wait, get a handful of auditions, and then I'll crank them 3, 4, 5 out. Yeah, some people are doing 20 auditions a week. I do more like 5 a week because I find that quality over quantity. I find to give the most time that I have. Again, I only do about 10 minutes per audition, maybe 15 minutes, depending on the audition. And how many characters. And then from there, it's me doing more marketing to skip the entire audition part. Again, with Cowcats, when we offered, or when I offered casting, I said, "Hey, you have a creatures. Can I audition for the creatures? Here's my creature demo." They're like, "Booked."
Right.
I was like, "Sweet."
I know.
And even with another game that I'm doing, again, I offered. I said I do creatures because they're like, "Oh, we're not going to really have a lot of voices, probably a bunch of creatures." I was like, "Hey, here's my creature demo." They're
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh, okay, here's a creature that we want you to just play around with."
Right.
I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, here's like one of the lead characters that we
Yeah.
want you to read for. I did it. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, you're good, booked. So I'm working directly
Yeah.
with them
Yeah.
in terms of creating characters and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So again, making the direct contacts can actually in the end
Certainly.
get
Yeah.
you more work than doing a lot of the auditions. As much as
Right.
auditions are great, again,
Yeah.
something comes up, you're like, this is worth it. Do
Right.
it.
For sure. Yeah.
If you
Somebody hears your demo or they hear like, a sample of work you've done previously
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, this is our guy.
Yeah. If you go, this is IMDb worthy, this is resume worthy, this
Yeah.
is anything that I can share to the community, to
Hmm.
any other leads,
Mm.
audition.
Right.
If you go, "Eh," that's where I skip it. Because again, when I started marketing, we'll say 6 months ago, January, when I
Yep.
really started marketing on
Sure.
LinkedIn, a lot of people are like, "Hey, I really like your stuff. Can you send me some work that you have worked on?"
Right.
And I started going through my resume. I went, "No, I don't feel comfortable due to the quality of the project. As much as
Right.
I enjoyed the project, as
Hmm.
much as I enjoyed the people with it,
Right.
the project itself doesn't represent a professional result as I would like to share."
Oh yeah.
And that kind of was a switch where I was like, from now on, I'm only auditioning for stuff that is going to be resume
Mm.
worthy, share worthy,
Right. Right.
IMDb, just stuff that I can truly say, yeah, I just worked on this game. Here's a
Right.
demo.
Hmm.
Here's the creatures that I did, or the character that I
Right.
played.
Right.
That's where it's like that's going to build a better resume and going to build people actually going to be excited to work with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and not saying that you're not going to get people that are excited to work with you either way, but that's
Right.
just how
Right.
I felt.
Hmm.
So this VO vlog series that you're doing,
Yeah.
what inspired you to kind of start doing this?
So first off, because a lot of the work I did, especially initially, a lot of the stuff I voiced for ended up on YouTube, especially when I was getting started in Casting Call Club. I started off doing just a lot of really small YouTube channels just to start getting experience, but I had some other work, on some more recognizable channels and whatnot. And because my name is in the credits, because so much of this is on YouTube, I wanted to have something of a presence on YouTube myself. So if somebody looks up my name, there's, more than just, my icon or what have you.
Yeah.
And it was a place where I could upload my voiceover demos and I can link somebody to that and stuff. And
Hmm.
it was also just something, it was a fun exercise that I wanted to do. Like I'd always thought about becoming a YouTube content creator in some respect. And it was just a fun thing to, it was a fun exercise for me. It was like a journaling exercise where I can think back, okay, what did I do this week? What did I learn? Blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
And I can sort of regurgitate that. And, a lot of my friends and family sort of appreciate hearing what's been going on in my
Hmm.
life there. And I don't know, like it just started taking off and I've lately been starting to put more. Before this, I knew next to nothing about video editing. Like I still use an old for my video recording. I still use an old copy of like Windows Movie Maker, like circa Windows XP, like 2011 Windows
Yeah.
Movie Maker. I found it on some obscure website, and that's my recording software.
Oh my.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm meaning to upgrade it to something once I get a little bit more better funds and whatnot. But
Resolve. It's free.
Resolve.
I
I
use
might check that out.
I use Resolve. I used to use Lightworks,
Resolve.
but I
Okay.
was having when I started
Resolve.
Behind the Slate, I was having issues. So
Hmm.
Resolve is where I kind of
Okay.
I started doing it.
Yeah.
Resolve is definitely a great uh, media editor.
Okay.
So one to
Yeah.
look into.
I will put a pin in that and be looking at that later.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but yeah, the more I did this, the more work I put into the production effects. Like just recently, I started before I would just turn the camera on and just talk for however long, and if I got a bad take, I would just start over because I wanted it to be like one long
oh
seamless thing. So, but
yeah,
last couple times, I had the script where I had my bulleted points out, and then like I would just cut out the the spaces in between, so it clips, moves
yeah,
along better, and
yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a fun project for me. Like, I mean, once again, I like variety of things. So even just doing voiceover, I like I wanted to branch beyond even that. Like, I wanted to get into other forms of multimedia, and
Mhm.
it's a fun
For
activity.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you feel that you have possibly gained out of it? Whether it's other people seeing it and going, "Hey, I want to work with you," or
Mm.
maybe just mentally of something going, "Oh, wow, I can learn from what I just even said." What is
Right.
something that has kind of come out of it?
Yeah, certainly learning from both. I think I've gotten a little bit of marketing, exposure from that. I always post, my social links in the description, like, here's my LinkedIn, here's my Twitter, here's blah, 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 here's my email and whatnot.
Mhm.
And yeah, but, also I've become a lot more comfortable on camera, and even just in this kind of a setting like we're doing right now, I'm a lot more
Mhm.
comfortable having conversation over camera with my face on here than I would have been several months ago when I was just starting. So, and
For
that's
sure.
furthermore improved my voiceover game, because I mean, it's one thing. Some people get self-conscious just talking into a microphone for the first time, but then you're talking
Yeah.
into a microphone while you're also on camera. So I've just become that much more comfortable and confident in doing what I do. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I always go back and watch the videos, and I find that whenever I'm doing my videos, I tend to like nod my head a little bit too much when I'm talking. So I'm trying to be conscious of that, or like I'll just look down at the screen and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, I need to think about my nonverbal communication. Yeah, focusing on making sure that I'm paying attention to the camera, I'm engaged and whatnot, and
Yeah.
not doing anything weird or
Yeah,
yeah.
mine is like I always like look at the person, but
Uh-huh.
that means I'm like looking down. So it's
Right, and
like
that's
I'm
what I'm doing
trying
right
to
now. I'm
talk
looking at
to
your
you,
face on
but
my
I'm like,
screen,
yeah,
but
you
you're up
have
here.
to talk to someone, but you have to look at the camera while like
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
So I can look at the
it's
camera while I got you in my yeah,
peripheral. There's the word
peripheral
I'm looking
vision. There
for.
you
But
go.
yeah, it's one of those things to where
Mhm.
it's the engaging factor. And I'm still learning that. You can watch
Definitely.
all my behind the slates and I'm
Oh
like
yeah. Oh
looking at
yeah.
the person because I feel like I'm looking at the person. I'm like, wait a second, I'm not looking at them. To look at
Right.
you, I need to not look at you. I need to
Look at
look
the
at the
camera.
camera. So I'm looking at you and actually
Right.
engaging with you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely something that it's fun to experiment with and learn and
Sure.
stuff like that.
Sure. Mhm.
Um, Now, in regards to kind of creating new multimedias, again,
Yeah.
it's great to be in different fields. I mean, when I started doing voiceover, I had some logo design. I did it
Yeah.
for my photography because I'm
Mhm.
a professional
Right.
photographer on the
Sure.
side.
Yep.
But one of the things that I always did was create my own websites, my own logos,
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah.
And I actually started getting work from voice actors to create their websites.
Oh, wow.
And I've probably created about 12 websites. So
Oh, there you
that's
go.
an extra stream of revenue that I never
Certainly.
even
Yeah, yeah.
calculated in.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things. So what can you offer to the community to
Yeah.
um, just, I just like engaging with people and
Mhm.
just talking to people and
Oh,
hearing their
yeah.
story because
Likewise.
that everyone
Fun.
has a story and a purpose and why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm.
And it's the best. I enjoy it. Um,
Likewise.
and one of the things that I've also noticed as I start engaging with the community and how voiceover works, and I start listening and watching movies or shows or listening to commercials, and you start like picking at it to figure out how well they did,
Oh,
how
dude, same,
it's not
same.
engaging. What is the first thing as you watch a movie or show or even listen to a commercial? What is something like the first thing you notice?
Watch a commercial. I mean, nowadays, because I'm voiceover, well, especially when it's a commercial, I'm listening to the voiceover. I'm listening to
Mhm.
the cadence. I'm listening to the melody of all that. And all of a sudden, I'm more engaged now often in the commercial than I am in whatever else is on TV or whatever the game is now. It's like, ooh,
Right.
national level commercial. I want to see, what are these guys doing? What's their methodology? How do they deliver? What's their enunciation and stuff? And
Yeah.
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 So yeah,
No, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. No, I think
No,
that
mine's
was just my
also
thought. Yeah,
like,
please.
did I find it engaging? Did I
Mm,
believe them?
right.
We just watched Ugly Dolls with my daughter,
Ugly
and
dolls.
oh,
Never heard of ugly dolls.
that was a rough ride. They had like a lot of cr- uh, um, Kelly Clarkson, Blake Shelton as the voice actors, and
I'm Googling this right now.
They're performers and singers, which is great, but they are not
they're
actors.
They're known characters. They're people that you can put on a commercial and be like, oh, so-and-so's in it. So-and-so's in this. Oh
my gosh. It
that
was
marquee value.
It was hard. It was one of those things where I was like, this is not good. And we recently watched Wonder Park with my daughter. And that one was so much more engaging. You felt the emotion with the characters and stuff like that. And you felt everything. Now we looked up the reviews on Wonder Park and it got bad reviews. And I'm like, why? Why? Because it's dark. You need to teach children that it's okay and that there are things that you need to work through. Why, people?
It's a dark world, man. You gotta learn to keep up.
It's a great movie. But yeah, it's one of those things that I start doing. I'll watch a movie and I'm now listening to the performance and do I believe the voice actor and do you captivate me?
Right.
If I'm going, that's not good.
No. And we're more sensitive to that now than I would have been, a year ago or even like 6 months ago before I started really delving into the technique and the art of it.
Yeah. So why do you think it might be important to have a quality setup, whether it's your quality in your acting, your quality in your deliverance, your quality in your studio and your setup? Why do you think that might help engage the listener?
I mean, I think the listener, honestly, they can tell the difference. It's this weird kind of untangible thing. Like I've listened to video or watched videos of like vocal coaches working with other people where they'll do a read through of a commercial and he's like, okay, that was all right. That was, technically on point. But now really imagine yourself like in that position. Imagine yourself enjoying this product or imagine what is happiness to you? Like, what is your ideal, like your vacation spot or something? And they sort of reminisce on that and then they read through it again. And once again, it's difficult to articulate into words, but you can tell the difference. Like when a person is really present, when they really have, the passion behind what they're saying. And like you listen to like, okay, you're not just, saying something nicely. Like I actually believe you. You've got like more than just your voice. You sort of got your heart. You got your mind into this.
Yeah. I did.
It could be a subtle thing.
It's very subtle. I was talking to someone and I think it was Quinn O'Quinn. We were talking about when
Glen,
you're doing a product and you either don't know it or you know you don't like it, but you're still you got the job. And you're like, I love candles. They're the best thing ever. The smell of them and it's lovely. I was like, well, if you don't like
Christian.
if you don't like candles, do you like pizza? Oh, I love pizza. Do you love the smell of pizza? Oh, I love the smell of pizza. Well, let me tell you about this candle and how great it is. And the smell of the candle. And you're thinking pizza the entire time. And oh my gosh, people believe it.
I know. That's really it. Even if you're not enthusiastic about what the product is, you're still enthusiastic about something. And if you can find whatever emotional connection you're supposed to have to the copy you're reading, if you can find a way, like what in real life, in my own life, for me, for Glen Bulthius, makes me feel that way. If I can get into that headspace and then deliver a thing, that's
magic. That again, that's the acting part, and I think that helps. If you can't relate to the product, make a product that you can relate to, and just kind of
change it in your mind.
Switch the words.
Yeah.
Think about what you like. Switch the words on how you deliver it, and there you go, magic. And people believe that you care about enchanted night candles.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this candle though smells amazing. That's why it's in my booth. It's never been lit because obviously booth fire, not a good idea. But it smells good.
Right on.
Now, one of the things that I notice on your Twitter, your YouTube, is Yon Shady Glen.
Yon Shady Glen.
Where does that come from?
So there's a story behind that. There's a story behind that nickname. So it began, so I've got a musical background. I've been singing for most of my life. I've been in like choirs for school, choirs for church and stuff. And my senior year of college, back in 2011, fall of 2011 when I started, I was in our like advanced choir there. I hadn't been in before because I was like involved in other things, but like I finally schedule opened up. Okay, I'm in choir. And so for our choir, we had a trip coming up in January where we're going to East Asia. Our director's from the Philippines, so we were planning on doing a trip there. And in order to raise funds for that, we actually did a special concert where instead of doing choral music, it was a volunteer concert for us where we decided to get up and perform like pop music or something. So some people would do like like Pentatonix covers of songs. kind of thing.
Did
And
you
so
do
people got up.
Eminem?
Huh?
Did you do
I
Eminem?
I got up and I did Lose Yourself by Eminem. And I don't know what's, you can find that on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you how, but there's a video out there and it's on YouTube. And yeah, so and what's then in addition to that, so like, okay, you know, Glen is Eminem. Glen's the hip hop guy. So that connection was made. And then there's another song out there. There's a great choral song called Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond. I don't know if you heard it.
Probably not,
It's like,
but maybe
okay,
I've heard it. I just
it's
might
the
not know
Scottish
the
song. It's
title.
like, you'll take the high road and I'll take the
Yes,
low road and
yes,
I'll
yeah.
be in Scotland. So the second verse of that song begins, "'Twas there that we parted at yon shady glen," as in like a glen in this context. A glen meaning like a valley, yon shady, like, you know, we parted at the valley over there. But then it's like, oh, yon shady Glen. It's like, okay, my name is Glen, and then Shady, Slim Shady, Eminem. So one of the people in my choir made that connection, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's like the most perfect thing. So then that sort of became the nickname.
That is.
And then yeah, and
that is
when I
awesome.
started and when I started getting into you know, like voiceover on YouTube and social media sites, like everybody's got their like, you know, internet persona, their internet pseudonym, like, you know, like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye and stuff. So I didn't want to just be, you know, Glen Bulthius. I was like, I got to have, you know, like a cool internet nickname. So I decided to go with Jan Shady Glen, and it sort of flowed, and that's where
Awesome.
that came from.
Yeah, I wish I was as bold. I said voice of a boil.
Yeah. So that's where that came from. There have been like one or two people on Twitter who've like caught the song reference to Loch Lomond. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Otherwise, it's
people
just
are noticing that. And
yeah. Like once or twice, that's like somebody who's noticed that on Twitter. Someone who's, you know, versed in choral, in like, you know, Scottish choral music.
Yeah, for sure. That's fun.
Yeah,
So
that's the story.
you've been in the industry for a year tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
just a year full time.
you have hit the ground running. Where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years. That's a wild thing to think about, man. I mean, I didn't know where I was going to be a year ago now. I mean, some of the places I'm in now, like that, like even that is like, wow, I never would have seen myself doing this particular thing or being so involved in a project like this. So
Yeah.
5 years from now, I mean, I'd really love to be financially independent. So in addition, so recent development, and I think I've mentioned this a little bit in our the accountability group that you and I are both in.
Mhm.
But in addition to building my voiceover career, I've been starting to think about expanding beyond that in the world of like investing and trying to, you know, branch out my portfolio and whatnot. So I use the voiceover to generate the capital, but then what do you do with the capital after that? Do I just leave it in the bank, or I can invest that into mutual funds? And I've been starting to look into, you know, real estate and learning about that game a little bit. And I mean, if I could get to the point where, you know, I got a couple different rental properties where, you know, I'm getting in monthly, you know,
Income.
income coming in from that, and other sources of passive income set up, and that would free me from the day-to-day pressures of having to make a paycheck. So I could, you know,
For sure.
work even that much more flexibly, and I would have to do less work just for the pay of it, and I could spend more time really delving into projects that I'm passionate about, or, you know, trying to make like really good, you know, connections with, you know, different other industry professionals and whatnot. So
Yeah.
5 years from now, I'd like to buy a house at some point. Like right now, you see my house is pretty tiny. We're just renting. Me and a couple buddies have been here for a couple years. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'd like to be more financially independent. I'd like to have, you know, some bigger names under my some bigger credits under my name, and
for sure.
yeah,
Just keep on going. Yeah,
keep on
that's
going.
definitely
Yeah.
investing is definitely something that I think is very important. And either whether you're
Mm-hmm.
full time, whether you have a day job and doing voiceover, you do
Right.
voiceover full time.
Yeah.
Investing in your future is definitely important because,
Sure.
unfortunately, being able to do voiceover for the rest of your life probably won't happen because by the time you hit 80, 90 years old, now some people
Yeah.
have the stamina and can do that, but
Right.
about 80,
Like
90 is
David
when.
Attenborough, he's like 92 or something. He's still doing documentaries for Planet Earth. So
Yeah. So
it
some
can
people
happen.
have that ability and that
Right.
stamina, and
But
some
I'm not
people
counting
lose.
on it. Right.
Yeah, you lose your voice or you don't have the ability to stay
Right.
in a booth for hours and things like that.
Sure. Definitely.
Um, is there a project that you're most excited about that
Ooh.
you can talk about?
Yes, there is. Easy one. It's a volunteer project, but I'm working on one of the biggest mods for Fallout 4 right now. It's by a group called Sim Settlements, which they got their start making. I don't know if you played Fallout 4, but there's like a settlement building aspect of the game where like you like manage like your little civilization and whatnot. You can build up
Mhm.
things, but This one like auto generates the settlements, the architecture for you. And then we built a number of expansions based around that. So the most recent one is called Sim Settlements Conqueror, which has the basic things where you take over a settlement and it auto generates the architecture. But then there's also a story component, which gives you an alternative playthrough through the game where you play as the bad guy, where you play as like a raider and you're like taking over and enslaving settlements and expanding your empire. And I was taken on that, back in December of 2018. And I was reached out to by another gentleman, a guy named goes by Cobus on Casting Call Club. But he's done a lot of work with other Skyrim mods and whatnot. And I'd worked with him on a few things, and he'd reached out to me about being the main character for this thing. So my character, I play a character called Jammer. He's sort of he's the player's right-hand man who helps you figure out the mechanics and whatnot and helps you learn how to play this, new game mod that we've built here. And
awesome.
Yeah, he takes people through that. So, and that's an ongoing thing. So we've been releasing content patches piecemeal throughout the year. So, it started back in December and we're hoping to wrap up by the end of the year, but we keep releasing new chapters of the story. We've got a great writing team and we keep introducing, more like characters for the person's team because you build up like your raider army, but then you've got like your main lieutenants, and it's kind of like an Ocean's 11 thing where like you've got your dude who's like the tinkerer, you've got the spy master, you've got the doctor, you got the beast master and stuff. And we just got all these fantastic people in the voice acting community and all these folks who everyone's doing it for volunteer, but everyone is so professional, so on point with their game. And it's just such a phenomenal project to be a part on. Like I'm just blown away by the level of professionalism that we have with people here. The writing, the acting, the audio editing. We got a phenomenal audio engineer. He lives in South Africa, does all of the audio engineering. So that all the audio, so I send my lines off to him and then they all sound like they were recorded in the same place. So the audio quality across everybody is very consistent.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like that's something worth checking out. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is awesome. We've gotten some good publicity from, YouTubers who follow the modding community and follow Fallout 4 and whatnot. So,
yeah.
And we're hoping we're hoping to wrap up the the main story by the end of the year and then resell it as a quest mod. Because originally when we started off, the story wasn't supposed to be as big as it got. I mean, it was mainly like a game mechanics mod that you become a raider and like we developed this thing where you lead an army to take over a settlement and whatnot. But then like when I came in as the character and when this character starts getting more of a backstory and you start running into people from his past, and you start having these other characters and whatnot, and it just became more than we originally anticipated it would be. So once we wrap it up, we're going to repackage it as a quest mod and then hopefully, get some more publicity there and start really pushing the marketing and hopefully get a lot more attention there. So
fantastic. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's the best project I've ever been on. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where can people go to find more about you and more about your work?
People can find more about me. My most popular, the platform I'm on most is definitely Twitter. So, at either look up my name, Glen Bulthius, or go to my handle at Shady Glen. And that'll link you to pretty much everything else that I'm doing. That's where I share my YouTube. That's where I share my other stuff. That's sort of my main hub of activity. Awesome. If you look up Glen Bulthius or Jan Shady Glen on YouTube, you can find my vlog series, find my YouTube channel there as well. And I'm also on Casting Call Club. So feel free to hit me up with a DM if you're interested in having me be part of a project or you just got questions about voiceover and whatnot. And I'm more than happy to partake.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this this episode.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Christian. This has been really fun. I enjoy this.
Definitely. Thanks for listening to Behind the Slate with guest Glen Bulthius. If you liked the episode, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell button to stay notified. I look forward to seeing you again.
About 70% or so.
I'm not actually sure. When are we recording? I wasn't actually sure when we were going to start recording.
An angelic halo. See? This is how beautiful she is. She glows.
She just glows. She's like Galadriel.
How do we do what?
Right.
How much is this?
Oh, yeah.